Hello everybody and welcome back for the continuation of my book reading of Stephen King's Elevation. Here we go. She held out her hand. Scott shook it. Just one favor. If you happen to see Deirdre, I appreciate you not mentioning that I came to see you. Done deal, Scott said. The day after Miss Donaldson's visit, while he was sitting at the counter in Patsy's diner and finished his lunch, Scott heard someone behind him at one of the tables say something about that crack snacking restaurant. Laughter followed. Scott looked at his half-eaten wedge of apple pie and the scoop of vanilla ice cream, now puddling around it. It had looked good when Patsy set it down, but he no longer wanted it. Had he heard such remarks before and just filtered them out, the way he did with most overheard, but unimportant, to him at least, chatter. He didn't like to think so, but it was possible. Probably going to lose the restaurant, she said. We have to count on the locals to pull us through. She used the conditional tense as if Holy Frioli already had a for sale or lease sign in the window. He got up, left a tip under his dessert plate, and paid his check. Couldn't finish the pie? Patsy asked. My eyes were a little bigger than my stomach, Scott said, which wasn't true. His eyes and stomach were the same size, they always been. They just weighed less. The amazing thing was that he didn't care more, or even worry much. Unprecedented, it might be, but sometimes his steady weight loss slipped his mind completely. It had when he'd been waiting to snap photos of Dee and Dump squatting on his lawn, and it did now. What was on his mind at that moment was that crack about crack snackers. 4 guys were sitting at the table the remark had come from, beefy fellas in work clothes. A row of hard hats sat in a line on the windowsill. The men were wearing orange vests with CRPW stenciled on them. Castle Rock Public Works. Scott walked past them to the door, opened it, then changed his mind and went to the table where the road crew sat. He recognized 2 of the men, had played poker with one of them, Ronnie Bridge. Townies liked them, neighbors. You know what? That was a shitty thing to say. Ronnie looked up, puzzled, and then recognized Scott and grinned. Hey Scotty, how you doing? Scott ignored him. This woman lives just up the road from me. They're okay? Well, Missy was. About Macomb, he wasn't so sure. One of the other men crossed his arm over his broad chest and stared at Scott. Were you in this conversation? No, but... Right, so butt out. But I had to listen to it. Patsy was small, but always crammed at lunchtime and filled with chatter. Now the talk and the busy gnash of forks on plates stopped. Heads turned. Patsy stood beside the cash register, alert for trouble. Once again, buddy, butt out. What we talked about is none of your business. Ronnie got up in a hurry. Hey Scotty, why don't I walk you out? Don't I walk out with you? No need, Scott said. I don't need an escort. But I have to say something first. If you eat there, the food is your business. You can criticize it all you want. What those women do in the rest of their lives is not your business, got it? The one who had asked Scott if he'd been invited into their conversation uncrossed his arms and stood up. He wasn't as tall as Scott, but he was younger and muscular. Red had crept up his broad neck and into his cheeks. You need to take your loud mouth out of here before I punch it for you. None of that now, Patsy said sharply. Scott, you need to leave. He stepped out of the diner without argument and took a deep breath of the cool October air. There was a knock on the glass from behind him. Scott turned and saw a bull neck looking out. He raised a finger as if to say, hang on a second. There were all sorts of posters in Patsy's window. Bull neck pulled one of them free, walked to the door and opened it. Scott balled his fist. He hadn't been in a fist fight since grammar school. An epic battle that had lasted 15 seconds. 6 punches through, 4 of them clean missed. but he was suddenly looking forward to this one. He felt light on his feet, more than ready. Not angry, happy, optimistic. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, he thought. Come on, big boy. But Bullneck didn't want to fight. He crumbled up the poster and threw it on the sidewalk at Scott's feet. Here's your girlfriend, he said. Take it home and jerk off over it. Why don't you? Short of rape isn't the closest you'll ever get to fucking her. Well, I went back and sat down with the mates, looking satisfied, case closed, aware that everyone in the diner was looking at him through the window. Scott bent down, picked up the crumbled poster, and walked away towards Neoplace in particular, just wanting not to be stared at. He didn't feel ashamed of himself, or stupid, for staring something in the diner where half of the rock ate lunch. But all those interesting eyes were annoying. It made him wonder why anyone would want to get up on the stage to sing or act or tell jokes. He smoothed out the ball of paper, and the first thing he thought of was something Miss Donaldson had said. That's the only reason she let me put her on that poster. Them, it seemed, was the Castle Rock Turkey Trot Committee. In the center of the sheer was a photo of Deirdre McComb. There were other runners, most of them behind her. The big number 19 was pinned to her waistband on her tiny blue short. Above them was a t-shirt with New York City Marathon 2011 on the front. On her face was an expression Scott would not have associated with her, blissful happiness. The caption read, Deirdre McComb, co-owner of Holy Frioli, Castle Rock's newest fine dining experience, nears the finest line of the New York City Marathon, where she finished fourth in the women's division. She announced that she will run in this year Castle Rock 12,000, the Turkey Trot. How about you? The details were below the caption. Castle Rock's annual Thanksgiving race would take place on the Friday following the holiday, starting at the rec department on Castle View and finishing downtown at the Tin Bridge. All ages were welcome. Adult entrance fee $5 for locals, $7 for out-of-towners, $2 for those under 15. Sign up to the Castle Rock Rec Department. Looking at the bliss on the face of the woman in the photo, runner's high at its purest, Scott understood that Missy hadn't been exaggerating about Holly Frioli's life expectancy. Not in the slightest. Deirdre McComb was a proud woman with a high opinion of herself, and quick, much too quick, in Scott's opinion, to take offense. Her allowing her picture to be used this way, probably just for that mention of Castle Rock's newest fine dining experience, had to be a Hail Mary pass. Anything at all, to bring in a few more customers, if only to admire those long legs standing beside the hostess station. He folded the poster, tucked it into the back pocket of his jeans, and walked slowly down Main Street, looking in shop windows as he went. There were posters in all of them, posters for bean suppers, posters for this year's Giant Yard sale in the parking lot of Oxford Plain Speedway, posters for Beano at the Catholic Church, and a potluck diner at the diner station. He saw the Turkey Trot poster in the window of Castle Rock's computer sales and service, but nowhere else until he reached the Book Nook, a tiny building at the end of the street. He went in, browsed a little, and grabbed a picture book from the discount table. New England fixtures and furnishing. Might not be anything in it he could use in this project, but the first stage was nearing completion anyway. But you never know. While he was paying Mike Badalamenti, the owner and sole employee, he remarked on the poster in the window and mentioned that the woman on it was his neighbor. Yeah, Deirdre McComb was a star runner for almost 10 years, Mike said, bagging up his book. She would have been in the Olympics back in 2012, except she broke her ankle. Tough luck. Never even tried out. 2016, I understand. I guess she retired from the major competitions now, but I can't wait to run with her this year. He grinned. Not that I'll be running with her long. Once the starting gun goes off, she'll blow the competition away. Men as well as women. Mike laughed. Buddy, they didn't call her the Malden Flash for nothing. Malden's where she's originally from. I saw a poster in Patsy's and one in the window of the computer store, and the one in your window. Nowhere else. What's up with that? Mike's smile went away. Nothing to be proud of. She's a lesbian. That would probably be okay if she kept it to herself. No one cares what goes on behind closed doors. But she has to introduce that to one who cooked at Friuli as her wife. Lots of people around here see that as a big old screw you. So businesses won't put up the posters, even though the entry fees benefit the rec. Just because she's on them? After having bullnecked through the poster from the diner at him, they weren't even real questions. Just a way of getting it straight in his mind, in a way he felt as he had at 10, when the brother of his best friend had set the younger boys down and told them the facts of life. Now as then, Scott had vague idea of the whole, but the specifics were still amazing to him. People really did that? Yes, they did. Apparently they did this as well. They're going to be replaced with new ones, Mike said. I happen to know because I'm on the committee. I was Major Colling's idea. You know, Dusty, the king of compromise? The new ones will show a bunch of turkeys running down Main Street. I don't like it, and I didn't vote for it, but I understand the rationale. The town just gives the rec a pittance? $2,000. That's not enough to maintain the playground, let alone all the other stuff we do. The turkey trot brings in almost 5,000. But we have to get the word out. So, just because she's a lesbian? A married lesbian. That's the deal breaker for lots of folks. You know what Castle's county's like, Scott? You lived here for what, 25 years? Over 30? Yeah, and solid Republican. Conservative Republican. The country went for Trump 3-1, 2016, and they think our stone brain governor walks on water. If those women had kept it on the down low, they would have been fine, but they didn't. Now they're all people who think they're trying to make some kind of statement. Myself, I think they were either ignorant about the political climate here, or plain stupid. He paused. Good food though. Have you been there? Not yet, Scott said, but I plan to go. Well, don't wait too long, Mike said. Come next year, at this time. Apparently be an ice cream shop in there. And that was the end of chapter 1, losing weight. I'm gonna stop it also here for this chapter. And the next one will start then with chapter 2, will be called Holy Friuli. That will be for in the next one. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.